Space, the final frontier.
So welcome back to the channel. So this is the final part of my diorama for the M24 Chaffee. There are photos at the end, but I thought I would just make this the last part. So that's the base, and what I did is I glued little rocks. I just got them at a nursery or Bunnings. If you're in Australia, you'll know what Bunnings is. And I glued them with PVA. The inside of the house, I painted the ceiling white, and I just gave everything a bit of a primer with the airbrush. I used the white primer. They're the inside of the windows. I wanted to actually put a perspex or a laminate, so I made frames for the inside of the windows, and also used the coffee stirrers to make some fence as well, which I'll trim down to put between the house and the edge of the diorama. That's just a bit of a mock-up of how the fence is going to look. And yeah, so I had a lot of fun with it. And this is just a tree. I got a bit of a log and I cut all the logs and sanded them on the ends. And I was making a little kind of log structure that was going to sit on the side of the house. Gave the rocks a bit of a primer and a paint of just like a grey. I did some further airbrushing and kind of dry brushing on them. I basically taped up everything that I didn't want to be blue, which was the windows and the ceiling, and I just painted the house like a pale blue. And it was going to get weathered after that, but that was just what I did. The roof was a kind of a bluey grey as well. Had a lot of options. I just went with the blue. I liked it. That's the logs after I glued them together. They go on right near the end. Bought myself some grass on eBay with a grass kind of applicator and also some seafoam. The seafoam was all crushed in a bag. It's supposed to come in a box, but you get what you get these days. Anyway, I made do with the seafoam, and that was going to go on my tree, which I started to build. Now there was a girl on YouTube, and she built one out of the green nursery wire. So I did the same using a thin insulated copper wire that you see there, and basically I just followed what she kind of did, and I just made it my own. So you basically just make a bit of an L shape so you can get kind of like the base of the tree, and then you basically just wire it all together and just pull the wires any way you want until you get something that you're happy with. And after a while it will start to look like a tree. And I kind of kept the house nearby just to make sure I had it not too big, not too small. I wanted to make sure that the tree was going to kind of fit the scale of 135. The earth wire there is actually a strand wire, so it's good for smaller little branches, which you can kind of twist around the thicker uh, like nursery wire that I got. And that's just me doing a bit of a mock-up just to get the scale right and make sure that I'm kind of happy with the way the tree is going to look like and overhang over the house and a little bit on the front. Got myself a glue gun. That was something I got on Amazon, and the girl, she ended up gluing the tree or covering it with glue, as you can see there. I just used a soldering iron at the end just to kind of neaten everything up. And you can drag the soldering iron down the glue just to make kind of bark lines. This kind of took a long time. This kind of took the better part of a week for me to stuff around with, and it was okay. I mean, I was considering maybe using plasticine rather than glue, but this was my first tree. So there's the seafoam. I cut all the seafoam up and took forever to glue every little piece on there. And I used the glue gun with that. I didn't use super glue. I used PVA near the end for any branches that might have come off or anything like that. That was the glue I used. I diluted it. I got these little bottles on eBay. I got like 100 of these, and basically you can just dilute your airbrush colors or your Tamiya colors or whatever you got into these little bottles and thin them out for either airbrushing or just painting. So yeah, I have a lot of those lying around, so they come in handy. That was the color I used, which is, I think it's like an antique white for the windows. That's just underneath there. I ended up going with just a straight USB rather than a switch because I felt that the switch and the 9-volt battery was just too tedious, and this way it's completely supplied with power and you can just turn it off at the power point. Now the tree's been prime it, and then I just use the brush to go around and just touch everything up. It's a bit fragile. I did spray it with PVA, and that kind of made it a little bit tougher. Now inside the house, so that's a bit of a template I made there. That's just so I can get the rafters even on both sides. You can see the wallpaper's already glued in there, which I made. And then, yeah, the rafters, they needed to be even because I would have not liked if my rafter was kind of off center or kind of hanging the wrong way. So I thread the LED through the rafter, and that's just balsa wood in case you're wondering. And then I fixed it into the two end bits, which were glued with PVA and allowed to dry really well. And then it kind of sits on the base. And then I used a straw, which was my downpipe, to conceal the wires, and that would go through the base, and the two positive and the negative would attach to the positive and negative of the USB. That's what it looks like when you light it up. And I just threw the iPhone, I think, in there just to kind of, or the GoPro, I can't remember. There's a little frame, there's a little picture frame in there of Van Gogh's, which you can see as well. And it's just, it's a bit gimmicky, but it was fun to do. So this is the setup before I start doing anything with the base, just making sure I was happy with the way everything was going to be positioned. There was no weathering done on the house at this stage, as far as I can see, no weathering or anything like that. The tree, I decided to use potpourri, and what I did is I just diluted some glue, sprayed it all around, not sprayed it, but basically just dripped it all around. I did this in the garage because it was so messy. Now the potpourri, what I did is I used a coffee grinder and I just blitzed the hell out of it, and then that's just me cleaning off the excess, because if you let it dry, then you're gonna have crap all over. That's the advantage of using glue. I mean, it's kind of really easier to kind of clean, and that's what it would look like. And like I said, I did it in the garage because it was just such a messy thing. But very fragile though. You can see it's kind of bobbling around, but you know, it was okay. So I did some weathering on the house, and I dropped some potpourri as if it was falling. That is clay. I put on the base, and I put the tracks, leftover tracks I got from the tank, just pushed them in there, and that looked pretty cool at that stage, before I decided to just start to covering it with dirt. But yeah, I decided to do clay on the bottom. You could have gone straight with the dirt. It would have worked, I guess, but I thought if I at least put the clay down, and you can see once it dries, it cracks. And I got PVA and I brushed PVA in all the cracks, and I wasn't too concerned because I knew I was going to cover it with dirt. That's me making a bit of a wedge for the fence, which I decided to do like a bit of an L shape. And again, I really enjoyed making the fence, and it was fun. And you got a lot of freedom when you use clay, because you can kind of cut it out and without much effort at all, just a chisel or those little chisel things that I've got there. And this is just me planning everything before I start committing to gluing anything down, and before I start putting the dirt down. But yeah, that's when I started getting to the business end of the diorama. The only tips I have is when you do something like this, just plan it out well. I think when I made the fence, there you go. I used a scriber, and I actually built the fence as if I would a real fence. I used the mortise and tenon joints, and used PVA, and I glued the whole thing together. And it was a lot of fun to do, and it was all like in miniature scale. And balsa was very easy to work with. You can see you just push it in there with the glue, let everything dry, and then once the fence was all completed and I was happy with the position of it, I took it in the garage, and I airbrushed it again, and I weathered it a little bit. I didn't do much weathering on the fence. I could have done a lot more with it. I could have broken some palings, but whatever. It is what it is. Now this is just dirt that I sifted through a sieve, and I used some PVA mixture on it, and then I just painted it. The consistency is based on whatever you're happy with. I think sieving the dirt is a really good idea because you get a nice thin consistency. If you have too many lumpy things in there, once it was kind of half dry or about 2 hours into it, I pushed the tracks in again. I actually had to use some tweezers to just use some force to really get some kind of track marks into the dirt. because the dirt kind of covered the track marks into the clay. So in hindsight, I probably could have just done it straight into the dirt. I left it for about a good 2 hours, maybe just an hour, maybe long enough, but you got to wait a little while till the glue sets a little bit. I added all this grass and I didn't film it all because it just took me a week to just go back and forth and do what I wanted. And then I added the fence and I added glue. Then I added little bits of tufts and I airbrushed the dirt as well. And then I just mucked around with the colors of the dirt, added more dirt, took some dirt away. And then eventually, this was kind of close to the end of the final product before the tank went down. My oil drums. I love this. I saw Night Shift on YouTube do some rusty, I think it was kind of like a tractor pipe. So he uses a little sponge and he dips it and he uses brown and yellow and blue and rusty colors, and eventually it ends up looking really, really cool. That's out of focus. You'll see better photos near the end of the video, but that's how you make the oil drum look kind of rusty. And I burnt some little things with the with my flamethrower there and just blew them out just to. You'll see it in the diorama anyway coming up. All the photos are coming up in a minute, and you'll see what it all looks like. I took some really nice photographs. The video can make the tank look a little plasticky because I didn't really weather it that much. There you go. See, it looks kind of a little bit plasticky, but all the photos are coming up now, so hopefully you'll enjoy the photos using my macro lens as well. Anyway, that's just the inside of the diorama as well, just of the wallpaper, which I weathered and I replaced. Anyway, enjoy the slideshow and thanks for watching.